Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anu and you're watching Journey to MD. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. I love to see you guys come back for more videos, and I post new videos every Thursday. So if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you will get notified every time a new video is put up. So today's video, we're going to be answering some of the most common questions I get asked in regards to going to a Caribbean medical school. I get asked these questions in person from people I know, or from some of you guys in my DMs on Instagram, or even sometimes in the comment section. Yeah. So if you have any questions that I don't answer in this video, please feel free to ask them in the comments. I will reply to it. So let's get into the video. So the first question is, what school do I go to? I go to St. George's University. It's in Grenada, the island of spice. I usually tell people that it's a US medical school in a Caribbean country because that's how it works. Physically, it's in Grenada, but logistically, a lot of the office-based administrative stuff goes down in New York in the US. So that's the school I go to, St. George's University. So there's a lot of facets to this question, and I'm probably going to do a whole video on, what I think about, going to a Caribbean medical school. But long and short of it is, if you're considering going to a Caribbean medical school, chances are that you have tried other options and it did not work, or your MCAT scores didn't go as you planned, or the Caribbean medical school was your backup choice, but now it's seeming like it's your first and only choice. I would say yes, if you're in that position, why not? Because obviously becoming a medical doctor is a dream of yours, and whatever opportunity you're given to be able to pursue that, I would say take it. But obviously there are also some things you need to consider about going to a Caribbean medical school. You would be considered an IMG, for example, and things tend to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say difficult, I would say more challenging for IMGs. So consider that and look out for the video I'm going to make explaining everything I think you should know about going to a Caribbean medical school. Third question is, are Caribbean medical schools easier to get into? So I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that Caribbean medical schools in general have a lot more spots than US or Canadian medical schools do. So it would be deemed easier to get into because there's just more places for people. But one thing I've heard is it's easy to get in, but it's hard to stay in for Caribbean medical schools because a lot of them are private schools for profit and have a standard to uphold, especially the big four. So if you're not doing well, or they do give chances, but if you're not meeting up to the standard that they need you to be at, they do kick people out of the school. And I would say no, because it's not easier, it's just logistically, if there are more spots in a place, then more people are going to get in, and it would look like it's easier, but not necessarily. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. Next question, how do I choose what Caribbean medical school to go to? And I think this is such an important question. One thing I would say for you is to do your research, because medical school is such a huge investment that you want it to come back to you in tenfold with profits and all of those things. So you want to make sure you're investing in something that's worthwhile in terms of the school that you're going into. Again, I can do a whole video on this, but I would say make sure you're checking the accreditation, the USMLE pass rates, the match rates, the match percentage of the school. And if the school is not giving you this information, if you're asking for it, if you're emailing them and they're not letting you know what the information is, then that's a red flag, I would say. Look up what the curriculum is like. So make sure you just do your research, because you need to know these things in order for you to make that investment, right? If you're investing into something, you want to know as much as possible. Reach out to students that you've heard of that went to that school and find out what their opinions are. You want to be as knowledgeable as possible in order to make the right decision for yourself. Number one is location. One is in the Caribbean, one is in the US. But another major difference I would say is the class sizes. So Caribbean medical schools, at least the good ones, tend to have larger class sizes. And most people think larger class sizes means not as much attention is paid to the students, like there's not enough resources for the students to benefit from. I can speak for SGU because I do go to SGU. SGU do have large class sizes, but they also have resources for students. So you can request to be tutored one-on-one in a topic that you do not understand. You can request to be in a DS session where you get to be tutored with a group of students about, again, something you don't understand. Or you can request to be part of the ITI class, which are smaller classes of about 10 to 12 people, and there's a tutor present to explain, what the lecturer has said to you right in the moment. So there are ways to work around it. Another major difference would be the attendance policies. So again, speaking from my experience at SGU, US medical schools tend to not put as much emphasis on attendance. I know a lot of schools just, you have your lectures, you don't necessarily have to come to class. But for SGU, because of the accreditation, they want to be accredited in all 50 states in the United States. So they put emphasis on attendance. We have an 80% attendance policy where you have to be in class 80% of the entire term. Another question I get asked is, how big are the classes? Okay, so classes do tend to be bigger. For SGU, I'm part of the August class. So August classes in SGU tend to be huge. In my class, for the first term, we had over 800 people, probably a lot more than 800 people in the first term. But for January class, the January class tends to be smaller, about 400 people. And now SGU has added an April class. I'm not sure what the number of students that would be in that class would be, but they do tend to be larger. But as I mentioned in the last question I just answered, SGU does provide resources to make sure that every student's need is being met. So I can't speak for other Caribbean medical schools, but for SGU, that's what I'm sure of. The top 4 Caribbean medical schools are SGU, which is the highest rated, just saying. SGU, Ross, AUA, and SABA. Those are the top 4 Caribbean medical schools. So if you can get into one of those 4, I would say go for it, because they tend to be more accredited and more renowned in the US. And eventually, if you want to practice in the US or in the UK or in Canada, then you want a school that's accredited and known. I love this question, and I'm probably going to do a whole video on this because I lived in Grenada for 4 years. I did my pre-med for 2 years there and 2 years of my basic sciences in Grenada. It took me a little bit of time to get used to living on a Caribbean island because people tend to be more relaxed there and things are not as convenient as it would be in Canada, for example, or in the United States. So there's a bit of a learning curve in that sense, but I think everything else makes up for it. It's such a beautiful environment. It's relaxing. There's really nothing much to do than just study and go to the beach and hang out with friends, but it's like a little beautiful prison for studying. That's how I would describe it. It's beautiful, it's conducive for studying. You're away from family and friends, so there's no distraction in that sense. But then yet again, there's things to do if you want to do things. Other than that, you can just sit down and study and have the ocean outside your study window. It can be frustrating, especially if you need to get something, like you might have to go to 2 or 3 different grocery stores in order to get sometimes egg. Things aren't as convenient as you want them to be, but I'm going to do a video about the things I think you should bring to Grenada coming for the first time, or I think it can also be applied to any other Caribbean island to make your life easier. I think to an extent it's true, because as I mentioned earlier, the school does have a standard to uphold to in terms of their passing rate, the USMLE passing rate, or putting residents into first year programs in the US. They do have certain numbers that they have to meet. So if you're not serving them, if you're not doing well, if you're not up to the standard that they want you to be, they do tell you to leave. But I think on average, I was looking up statistics, and if I'm wrong, I will definitely let you guys know by putting something down here to let you know. But it's about 7% to 12% dropout rate for SGU particularly, and for US medical schools on average it's about 4 to 6%. So it's not that much of a difference, but there is a difference in that sense. What I would tell you is, if you're going to a Caribbean medical school, as, you know, a last resort to achieve those dreams of yours, then make sure you're going there ready to study. It's not going to be a walk in the park, but it's definitely doable. Don't think that, oh, because I got into a Caribbean medical school, life would be easy. No, it's not. No, it's not. And so I thought I would end this video with a bit of a funny question, which is it in English? Yes, the school is in English. Most Caribbean medical schools aren't taught in English because most Caribbean islands tend to speak English as their first language. But again, most Caribbean medical schools don't have Caribbean teachers teaching the class. I mean, there are some Caribbean doctors that do teach classes, but most of the time it's foreign doctors from the United States, from a European country, from an Asian country. There's a variety of people that do teach lectures, but yes, the medical school is completely and entirely in English. So those are some of the questions that I have received from some of you guys or from people that I know in real life. I know that doesn't cover all the questions you may have about going to a Caribbean medical school. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. I will reply to them. And if there's enough questions, then I will make another video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe if you have not. See you next Thursday. Bye-bye.